All right, great. Well, thank you everybody for joining. We'll go ahead and get started. I am going to record and we'll put this on the producer portal in the event you want to revisit the materials that we covered today and for everybody that wasn't able to join. Thank you again for joining today. What we're going to cover in today's webinar is something called retargeting or remarketing. This webinar is probably going to be one of the shorter ones, only because this really is meant to just be a quick introduction to the idea of retargeting, and we'll talk a little bit more about exactly what that is and how you use it and why it's important. And then I'll walk you through a Facebook example of how you actually get this set up for yourself. Couple of admin items as always. Please feel free if you have any questions that come up as I'm going through the materials or the example, please just drop it into the Q&A box, or you can raise your hand and I'll pause for any questions that folks have. And at the end, I'll save some time for questions as well. But feel free again to drop it into the Q&A box or into the chat. I've got those open, or just go ahead and raise your hand. So as I mentioned, what we're going to cover today is a brief definition and overview of what exactly retargeting really is and what does it mean for us to be retargeting. And then we're going to go ahead and cover why retargeting is a successful strategy. So why do people do it? How does it actually work? And then I'll give you a quick basic overview of setting up retargeting on Facebook. Now, one thing to keep in mind with retargeting is you can actually do this on a number of different platforms. Facebook is one of the easier ones to set it up with, but you can actually do this on Google, and you can do it on a few other platforms as well. So let's go ahead and start with what exactly retargeting is. And it's, as the name kind of suggests, it's the ability to market to those individuals or users that have previously visited your website. So if you think about some of the content that we've covered in the last few weeks, it's really been about how do we find new people and attract them to our website. Now, we all know that not everybody goes to a website and completes a transaction or sets up a meeting the first time that they visit a website, right? So in the context of our businesses, you may have people look at your site. They may start, if you have the ability to get a quote on your site, they may start that process, but not actually finish it. Or in the context of, if you think about when you're shopping for something online, sometimes we add a bunch of stuff to our cart and then we leave without actually buying anything. And so retargeting is really the process of identifying and then finding those individuals on different platforms and in some way reminding them that they should be coming back to your website, right? So think of it as another bite at the apple if you weren't able to convert somebody on their first visit to your website. Now, the way that retargeting works is using something called pixels, and pixels are effectively short lines of computer code that go into your website that enable you to track user behavior. So pixels really are going to give you a good sense of what parts of a website your users are visiting, how far they get along in a process. And the nice thing about a pixel is, although the code can feel complicated and overwhelming, it's pretty short. And that way as well, you don't actually have to get somebody's email address to be able to retarget them, right? So a pixel, in conjunction with something called cookies, essentially means every time that I visit a website, a cookie gets dropped, right? So my user profile on your website is going to have a cookie that helps identify me individually without having any of my contact information. And so that pixel and those cookies are important because what you can then do is using the pixel, and each platform will have its own pixel. Let's say you add the Facebook pixel on your website and I visit your website. What Facebook's going to be able to do is say, okay, Nimish went and visited these websites. We know that. And so as we look at offering up this ad or serving the ad, it's going to go to Nimish because we know that he's been on certain sites, right? So in the context of buying things again, right? Let's say I went on the Target website. There is a pixel in there, most likely a Facebook pixel, where if I add a bunch of stuff to my cart and I decide I get busy or I decide I don't want to buy this right now, Facebook's going to know, if Target wants to, that I was on Target's website looking at certain products. And Facebook then, if Target wants to run the ad set, Facebook's going to know, okay, Nimish was on the Target website, and so we're going to go ahead and show him the ad that Target wants us to. So as I mentioned, with the user behavior, you really have the ability to remarket or retarget those individuals. And the thing with retargeting and remarketing is you can actually make it as broad or as specific as you want. And so what I mean by that is you could set a pixel that is literally your homepage, right? And when you go to set up a retargeting campaign in Facebook, you could tell it, hey, I want anybody that's been to my homepage. What you can also do is actually set actions and behaviors further down what we call the funnel, right? As we had discussed previously, let's say your funnel on your site is, you visit my website, I have the ability to give you a quote, and from there we're going to ask for your email address so that I can go through and actually try to sell you the insurance. That's, I can set a pixel at each of those stages and be as specific as I want. So as an example that I've been using a lot, right, from my days at Blueprint Income, my previous company, what we would do is we had the Facebook pixel, and our retargeting was actually set very, very down funnel. And so what I mean by that is we would retarget those individuals that actually got all the way through to getting a quote, getting really close to binding coverage, but didn't actually want the illustration to buy, and either wanted some more time to do research or decided it wasn't the right time. And so the pixel and tracking them through our process enabled us to say, we only want the sliver of users that are going to, or that have already gotten a quote for an annuity. And we're now going to market to them and remind them that they ran these annuity quotes, and for them to be able to buy is really, really easy, right? So in the context of insurance businesses, as we think about growing our practices, retargeting, you're probably going to want to retarget clients, let's say, that visited, if you have a book an appointment or book a call page, they visit that page and then didn't actually set up a meeting with you. And that's going to give you the ability to then have them see marketing materials on Facebook or other platforms that say, hey, it just takes a minute to book a meeting. We'll do a comprehensive needs analysis of your insurance coverage and see what else we can offer you, as an example. So again, with retargeting, and because we're using pixels, you have the ability to be really broad, or you have the ability to be really specific by identifying either what pages somebody's been on or what actions they have taken on your website. I want to add, there is another ability, especially in Facebook, to actually retarget when you do collect email addresses. Let's say you have an offer up for an ebook that you've written, and you request somebody's email address if they want to download your ebook. What you can do on Facebook, especially, is actually then take those emails and create an audience using those emails, right? So pixels give us the ability to track people, even if they haven't given us their email address, but we can also then remarket and retarget those people that have given us their email addresses. So why is retargeting so important, and why is it successful? And I think I pulled a couple of statistics for you all just to give you a sense of how it works. So if you think about a lot of the metrics that we look at and we keep an eye on when we're running digital marketing campaigns, a big one is click-through rate, right? Sometimes called CTRs. And literally what that means is what percentage of the people that see your ad are going to click on it and visit your website. Now with new ads, the average click-through rate, and this is across many industries, it can vary quite meaningfully, but at an average level, a new ad campaign that somebody sees for the first time only has a 0.07% click-through rate, right? So when you retarget people, though, that click-through rate goes up to 0.7%. So what that really is telling us, and as we think about like human behavior and a sales process in general, right? What it means is people need more than one touch to really be able to convert, right? And the fact that a retargeting ad campaign has 10x higher click-through rate than a new ad is pretty meaningful for us. And um, at Blueprint, um, one thing that we would do is we would continually retarget, right? So don't think about this as like, this is step number one. I'm going to retarget to folks one time. You actually probably are going to want to retarget folks several times. Because again, what it's doing is it's giving you more bites at the apple to really be able to get somebody interested and hooked, and then ideally converted into a sale at some point in time. Um, so that's really why these are important. Now, this I think is the bigger over here. This is really, I think, what is the driving reason that you see a number of different brands and people looking at retargeting. So this study found that website visitors who are retargeted are 70% more likely to convert, right? Now, again, this is a retailing largely, and I think a lot of this is based on, traditional kind of consumer packaged goods type of companies, whether it's clothing or it's Target or those types of companies. But I think it's really meaningful that what this tells me for us as we think about building our insurance practices is people need to be retargeted and they need a multi-step process to be able to convert. And so while we as insurance businesses may not see 70% more conversion for those customers that have been retargeted, I can guarantee you, looking at our numbers from Blueprint and the direct to consumer annuity business we ran, it is significantly higher, right? And so ultimately, what we're trying to do is get more conversions. Now, if you guys, if you had the chance to participate in some of our earlier digital marketing webinars that we had held, one of the things I always like to talk about is keeping an eye on your what's called customer acquisition cost, right? Our goal is to get conversions, i.e., people buying policies for the lowest cost to actually get them there. Retargeting is going to increase that cost. However, if you keep an eye on your conversion, right, there is likely a scenario in which you're driving higher conversion. So you're getting more people to buy policies, and it's actually paying off to be spending more money to retarget them. So you're going to have to keep an eye on the economics. But really, at the end of the day, what I think this tells us is retargeting is so important because people usually are going to have a multi-step process to making any sort of decision, whether it's an insurance one or buying that shirt from their favorite company, right? And so retargeting is going to be important for us to be able to continually get in front of those consumers, remind them who we are, and then ideally get them converted to a sale at some point in time. So I'm going to pause there before I jump into just walking you through what it looks like to actually get this set up on Facebook. Does anybody have any questions at this point through based on the materials that we've gone through so far? Okay, great. Looks like there are no questions. So I'm gonna close uh, the presentation that I've got and pop up Google, or excuse me, Facebook. Um, so as you all remember, if you again have been able to join our other webinars on digital marketing, especially Facebook, there is something called Facebook Ads Manager. This is where you're going to run all of your different ad campaigns, and you're going to be able to get those ads um, designed. You're going to figure out who you want to target, and you're going to get that set up. Now, to actually get your pixel set up, which is the first step, right? So as you remember, what we need to do is install a Facebook pixel on our websites that is going to enable us to track users as they go through the process on our website. Before you can run any ad that is pixel driven, you have to get that pixel set up. And so what that entails is getting the code off of Facebook and then putting it into your website. It is pretty easy to do. If you use a contractor today, let's say a third party that helps you get your website set up, they should 100% know how to do this. If you manage everything in-house or use something like Wix or not Squarespace, Squarespace, I believe it's Squarespace, then you actually will be able to utilize some of Facebook's built-in tooling that actually has an integration directly. So the thing I would recommend is when you log into your Facebook ads account, actually type in, it helps to start with the help that they have. And there's actually a 5-minute read here called Create and Install a Facebook Pixel. And what you're going to do is you actually have to set up your Facebook pixel from a different Facebook platform called Events Manager, and that's where you're gonna manage everything that's happening with the data side of your Facebook platform. So you're just going to go to Events Manager. I've got that open here, and this is what you're going to see: is the first page that opens up here is called Data Sources. And mine is blank because this is for my individual account. Let me see if I can show you guys. I'm going to try to do the LifeRaft Events Manager because I think that'll show you an active pixel, hopefully. All right. Okay, so we're just going to have to do it off mine. Not a problem. And so right here, it says connect to data source to get started. That's what you're going to do. You're going to connect to data source. Now, this is what you're going to use, the web. If you have an app for your practice, you can use app, but web is really what we're going to be looking at. Now, there's 2 different ways that you can actually connect your website to Facebook. Let's forget about APIs. This is a little more development heavy and is going to require engineering resources. The pixel is really what we've been talking about. So we're going to do pixel. And as I mentioned, a pixel is just used to track actions. They're captured as an event, and then the parameters actually tell you what event they took. So we're going to go ahead and click continue. So I'm going to name this pixel, let's say, visit LifeRaft website. Now, the nice thing about this is you can actually put in your website here. And if you created your website using something like Wix or WordPress, something that Facebook has a native integration to, it will actually go ahead and let you know, and it'll know if it's there, and it'll easy set up for you. So for us at LifeRaft, we did not use one of those. Great. Now ours is going to be a little more complicated. We have some of this engineering in the background, but you're just going to click connect other. And what you can do here is if you have any of these processes on your site today, so WordPress, Wix, Squarespace, Shopify, you can actually go ahead and use those. Whoops. Now mine is going to be a little bit different. Let me try a different website. Sorry. Okay. I need to, sorry about that. Let me try to get rid of this one. Okay, let's do a new one. Do the web. Oh, okay. All right. So unfortunately, ours is a little more complicated, and it's going to ask us. There we go. So now we have how do you actually go ahead and install this pixel code? Because we have those partner integrations on our website, that is what it was defaulting me to. But what you're going to want to do is actually use this manually add pixel code to the website. And what it's going to do is you're going to have this information right here, which you're just going to hit copy. And again, you can send this to your development team, or if you're using like a Wix or a Squarespace, it's actually quite easy because Facebook will set it up for you. In this case, we're going to copy the code, put it right into the site. From there, once you have it set up, you can actually manage all of your ads based on this pixel, right? So I'm going to up here and create, we can create an ad, we can create an audience, we can create what's called a lookalike audience. So you have a lot more control right over here once you have this pixel installed. And that pixel, it's actually quite user friendly. It's going to walk you through, and you're going to be able to identify different steps of the process that people have been through to be able to identify exactly who you want to be creating an ad for, and creating your audiences based on their pixel behavior. So that's the quick overview of how you actually go about doing this. This can really vary from website to website and individual to individual, which is why I've kept this really as an introduction. If this is something that you think would be interesting, as always, feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to spend a little bit of time helping you get it set up for your company or for your agency and your website. But that's the brief overview of excuse me, sorry about that, of retargeting. And I'll stop there. That's what we had for today. If anybody has any questions, happy to stick around for a bit, answer them, whether it's retargeting or any of the other digital marketing materials we've covered in the past. But thank you guys so much for joining. I hope this was helpful. Again, a very brief introduction to retargeting. We'll plan to do deeper dives as well as the months continue. But hopefully this was a useful overview for you all. And again, please feel free to reach out to us if you have any specific questions. Happy to be helpful.